insights that I've had, or just how it plays out in my life, that Jesus is enough for me, and God chooses everything for me because I have turned over my will to Him. And it plays out in interesting ways. Just for this afternoon, for example, I've been in a lot of pain, but I did get up and got my power saws uncovered. They're outside because I have more space to cut out there. Keep them all covered up due to if rain comes or such. And had done some cuts and had nail gunned in a few studs. Very slowly, at one point making an error in measuring, of course, as happens when you're very distracted by pain. And yet going along with all of that, in this vein of faith that God chooses everything for me, and it is all unfolding according to His will. So I then decided it was time to get ready. I wanted to go to confession and to Mass at a relatively new parish that I've been attending, and got out to my truck and realized I had locked a set of keys in the truck. And that all had unfolded last evening when I arrived back here from picking up lumber and spending a little time with a daughter and grandson a ways away, that a young gal had called me and we were discussing various aspects of her life. She calls now and then, and I enjoy helping her, counseling in whatever ways I can. And then Raphael, a man who is had done a little construction work for me that I couldn't do, came, and I wanted to give him a little bit more money. So I was very distracted and ended up then later that night unloading the truck of a bunch of 2x4s, very tired, and locked up the truck. So I'm, looking all over for keys and thinking how ironic that today I was feeling a wariness of this new parish and just facing the realities of how it has typically gone in parishes with the mystical state that I have during Mass. And it starts out all right, but then people being people and unused to the numinous, basically, start trying to analyze, figure out, come up with temporal reasons, psychological reasons, emotional reasons, on and on and on. And they can either go one of two or three ways with how they react to me then over time. And it oftentimes, though, ends up with a significant amount of persecution. So I was feeling like maybe a little sense of dread. I so wanted to be at Mass. I wanted to go to confession. But yet this other aspect was weighing in on me. And even Father Vincent from Nigeria called today, out of the blue, and we were talking about how it can be. And he sort of chuckled about it a little bit. Just the things that people come up with, trying to explain away the numinous. And if somebody has experiences that are mystical, but it's increasingly gotten in my life where I am becoming more and more accepting of greater amounts of solitude and existing in the Lord, like going to Mass the once a week, and that partly has just been logistics of the length of drive it is and the cost to get there, financially so. But we'll just see what unfolds with all of this. But I had to just simply accept that I'm obviously not going to be driving my truck until at some point in time my daughter can bring the keys over. We remembered, I called her, and she called back a little later. I'd forgotten her husband had borrowed my truck a couple of weeks ago or something, and I had failed to get the keys back. So I was just using my one set of keys. And so Jesus has chosen this, probably for very good reason, in addition to my physical pain, but also in my feelings of not quite feeling totally positive about the lay of the land in this parish. And just last week, one of the priests in confession was asking me questions, well, can you function normally otherwise? Oh yeah, other than I have constant and severe pain. But, well, does this happen no, just at Mass. And, you can just sort of see the wheels turning and the questions coming, and little doubts creep in or whatever it is. And he said, well, we want to make you very welcome here, but maybe if you could get involved in some groups, because he asked again, so you can interact normally. I said, oh, yes, I even have a sense of humor, shock, shock. So otherwise, just a regular old duddy, sinful, sort of mishap-laden woman is what I am. Lightning rod for trouble, I guess. But I did say I am a mystic. Have been all my life, and not just from being, when I became a Catholic 19 years ago. It's just how it is. And even that, I'm just ready to be myself. I'm getting old, and trying to live a double life has not worked out successfully. Even before this state started happening nearly 6 years ago, my adult children would tell me, and even as they were growing up, that I could fake it only to a certain degree, that there were things about me that people would notice that were a little different, or some unusual, mystical, or numinous experience or event would occur that someone might notice or would be obvious, and so there it would be. And I guess I even would try to dress to try to fit in more. And one time when my eldest daughter said, oh, Mom, maybe you can fool people for a year or two, but your clothes won't hide it. You were just different. And it's true. I mean, the clothes didn't make any difference. Before long, then this state at Mass started happening. Or things would occur in a parish, say with a priest, that I would have to report the priest who was ill in a sexual way and illegal also. So, of course, had to do something about that. And I guess I'm at the point in my life where I've told the Lord that I can accept greater solitude and removal in order to be myself in His light and love, and to be utilized in whatever way He wants with people, which is probably not going to be very much, other than maybe like anonymously through this or getting back to my blog writing. But it's been a fascinating experience, even and especially within the Catholic Church, as to the persecution that one goes through. And maybe I touched upon it a little bit when I posted earlier today regarding people making judgments of what others write or what they share of their personal lives. And just as they do in a face-to-face or a parish setting, they try to start analyzing and figuring it out and coming up with all sorts of reasons why it would preclude anything spiritual or mystical. So when Father Vincent of Nigeria called today, which doesn't happen very often, but we had a good conversation, and he sort of chuckled about, oh, yes, people will want to think, well, it's just your emotions, you're emotional, or it's psychological, or whatever. And it's just not me. So you have to live all this out and just know that God, however it pans out in your life, in whatever vocations you have or vocation, in whatever persecution or not being persecuted, you have to get to a point, or at least it's best to, I think, to be just so totally detached and accepting and understanding that Jesus is enough for us and that God chooses everything for us if we give our will over to Him. And so He chooses. He chooses, even in the details of our lives. And it's a wonderful, greater and deeper understanding of that scripture. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So God chose for me this weekend. I'm not going to be going anywhere, and possibly not for about a week, or at least several days. I just suggested to my daughter she mail the keys over. And there wasn't any huge upset. I was a little frustrated because there's parts of my soul that really, really desired confession and that great sacrament of confession, reconciliation, and also of Mass. But in His wisdom, I'm probably in too much pain to be pushing the body anyway. Obviously, He had His reasons for these details today to unfold. And we can find great joy in that kind of understanding of how God interacts in the temporal, our angels interact with us, etc. God bless His real presence in us.